The Cigar Nerds Podcast.
And welcome to Cigar Nerds Podcast. I'm your host, Smokin' Joe.
I'm Brad Jackson.
And welcome our guest, Cocainebear, that's sitting on the table.
Whoa, spoiler alerts. Damn, you didn't even give an opportunity for folks to learn what this episode was about.
Spoilers. That might be a little clue of what we're going to be talking about this week. But before we get into that, it's time for our introductions. What are we smoking this week, Brad?
This week we have the Upman, Nicaragua, the AJ Fernandez Heritage, because, you know, he doesn't already have a hand in every cigar.
Yeah, we smoked the original, the H. Upman AJ. So this is the new one, the Fernandez, which has a triple fermented Matafina wrapper that has been aged an extra 2 years after it was built to, give that special flavor. And we have the Churchill Vitola. Yeah, like I said, Brazilian Matafina wrapper, Nicaraguan binder, and Nicaraguan and Brazilian fillers.
Yeah, so very mocha colored, this one cigar. It's dark. It's
it's darker than the last AJ H. Upman.
And I definitely think that triple fermentation, I'm definitely getting, a little bit more spice out of this blend than some of the previous H. Upman stuff.
Yeah, according to the manufacturer, you should get notes of chocolate, espresso, and sweet spice. And I gotta say, this kind of chocolatiness is definitely better than the new coffee M&Ms. Those are disgusting. I do not recommend.
Coffee M&Ms, is that?
Yes, it's one of the new fucking limited time only flavors of M&M. It's called caramel cold brew, and it tastes like caramel and coffee, and it's not a great flavor of M&M.
But what if you snorted a fistful of cocaine and then ate your?
Then it might work out. your nasal capacities be nice and opened. So as we alluded to with our set decoration here, if you're watching on YouTube, we're going to talk about a little movie called Cocainebear.
And we have actual cocaine.
Or powdered sugar, one or the other.
Whatever.
You're going to have to snort it to find out. Or do like the kids, just take a mouthful off a knife, because that's how children think you do cocaine.
I mean, spoons, fingernails. I mean, anything's good for a little bump. A little toot.
I remember when I was a kid, me and my grandparents used to go to Helen and hit these flea markets and shit. And I found this little miniature switchblade that was a nail file. But it had a little tiny spoon on the end of it. And I was like, why does this nail file have a tiny spoon? My grandfather's like, don't worry about that.
It's for tiny bowls of soup.
Yes. Not until I was much older, I'm like, oh, I bought a cocaine spoon at the flea market.
It's like the little roses, that they conveniently sold in the glass tube at every convenience store ever.
Why does this look like a crack pipe? No, it's a vase. And if you have to take on your own Cocainebear, you should call in Strikeforce, strikeforceenergy.com. Use your promo code CigarNerds for 20% off your order. Give you enough caffeine to, if you can't get the cocaine, at least caffeine will get you going through the woods. And if you have to jump out of an airplane, it comes in tiny little tin pouches that'll stow better.
Caffeine and cocaine. I feel like we could make a race car movie.
Fast and the Furious 37. Cocaine drivers.
I mean, it makes sense. It'd work.
Well, we're going to snort a line and be right back with the main show. And welcome back to the main show here. Got a little sniffles?
I can't quite get this, pixie stick to go down right.
Oh. So yeah, this is one of those that when they announced it, we were like, is this a real project, or is this just a joke thing that we've come across? Like, no, we're making a movie called Cocainebear. And it's not like one of the sci-fi channel originals like, Sharknado, Lavalantula, Sharktopus.
In some ways it is. But at the same time, like, I don't know, this film pleasantly surprised me. One, it was very comedic. It didn't take itself too seriously. And, like, this is one of the few films in a long time that, like, the entire theater is erupting in laughter and stuff. Like, This was just a overall fun comedy, and you don't get those anymore.
Yeah, we're talking, like, Ockham, that there's not been that many comedies, like, released anymore because everything has to be so politically correct and that no one wants to offend anyone. So, like, balls out, just fucked up comedies, like, we've not had a good one in a while. I mean, I think like the American Pie series or Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. That's about the last big comedies that I can think of. I mean, there's still like comedic shit on TV and like YouTube and whatnot. But yeah, as far as like big budget comedy movies, it's like we don't get a whole lot of that recently. And this one was, I mean, for something as silly as a title, it had a $30 million budget and has already made $52 million, and it's still like in the theaters, like still making money. So it's
I mean, you went and saw Ant-Man, and I'm seeing people like literally like, no, definitely go see Cocainebear over Ant-Man. Yeah, and in a million years, like I'm telling people that, just have written the movie off, and I'm like, no, don't write it off. There's something, to be had with this film, And if you're just looking for funny, gory,
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, hell, there's a new Scream coming out soon, but we've had horror comedies. But I think this is like the closest thing like to a true horror comedy, because they went balls out on both. Like, when it's funny, it's fucking hilarious. And then when it's time for people to die, they don't shy away. I mean, it's like bloody, gory, like some serious shit. When you're like watching, you're like, ha ha ha. Then you're like, oh fuck, that's fucked up.
And I mean, I can, there was even
switches gears back and forth like
a couple of jump scares that I noticed got quite a few people, which was kind of nice because you don't really expect there to be a whole lot of suspense and a whole lot of jump, but there's a few scenes that I'm like, ha, there's the horror element. That's funny.
Yeah, when they call something horror comedy, a lot of the time it's silly. I mean, it's a lot more comedic than there is horror. I mean, even that whatever Day Shift movie we watched, much funnier than it was like horrific. But like this, when it got time for like, let's do some scary shit, you're like, oh fuck, this is bloody. Dude's getting like just parts ripped open.
Yeah,
and
that's kind of the weird thing
else.
For me. Like, I don't really necessarily consider like gore, to be horror in my opinion. Like, the horror element comes from, either the suspense or the unexpected or just, keeping you
more
on
psychological.
Exactly. Like, maybe I'm a demon. Maybe I'm not. I don't know now.
And we've definitely gotten a lot more of that style of horror lately, of the more psychological, maybe even paranormal, than we've had like the old school slasher or monster type movies, where it's like Jaws on land.
I mean, you can't make slasher films anymore because then, people will be like, oh, this was set in high school. I have to recreate this and, become TikTok famous.
Speaking of which, I did see that the third of the new Halloween movies is on Amazon now. I may have to watch that soon just to see how horrible it is.
Is that Halloween Ends?
Yes, it's. I was watching something the other day and there was an ad for it on Amazon, so it's now on Prime. Because I was like, after the second one, I was like, I'm not paying for that third one. Now that I can see it with my included subscription, I'm gonna have to see if it is as bad as I've heard it is.
Now I don't know if I've seen it or not.
Because we We did an episode on the first and the second one, and the second one was so bad that neither one of us wanted to pay to go see the third one when it was in theaters.
Signed up for because I think either Peacock or Shudder or one of those services had Halloween Ends for like 2 weeks, and somehow I signed up for something like to watch that movie, and then forgot to cancel the damn thing. Because occasionally I'll see like a Peacock or a Shudder. I'm like, damn it, how do I cancel? Oh, I can't do that through the app. Damn it.
Yeah, because that movie's got to be bad if we're like, yeah, we're not. We did an episode on the first movie and the second movie, and when it got to the third movie, we're like, nah, we've talked about this movie series enough.
I don't even remember it though. I mean, that's not saying much. I mean, we've done a lot of cocaine now. By cocaine, I mean, confectioner sugar. Is this even sugar? I'm kind of feeling like this is. Oh boy.
Oh, see, you've done tipped over the bear. Now the bear's gonna rip your face off because it doesn't have its own face.
Damn it, Cocainebear, cooperate! You're getting powder on you. You didn't even put it in a sealed Ziploc bag. I love it.
I didn't have any regular Ziploc bags.
Oh boy.
You should definitely subscribe on YouTube.
So if you want the real story of Cocainebear, that was it. Yeah. Bear found cocaine in the woods, ate it. Unfortunately, bear OD'd and died.
Yeah, it did not terrorize a small Appalachian town like in said movie. But I do like the opening segment of the guy like crashing the guy crashing into somebody's yard because his parachute didn't open, strapped up with
that
cocaine.
was real.
That was real, and they start the movie with the actual news footage before it fades into the actors in the movie. So it's
wasn't the like. So I think part of the mystery and everything else of this wasn't the guy's yard failed to deploy, he splats on the ground, and then the guy is like calling in, but he has dementia or something, so people are like, what are you even talking about? Like, your story doesn't add up, it doesn't make sense. And
when you find just like a guy dropped out of the sky and he had a bunch of cocaine on him. And that was the original story. Somebody was smuggling cocaine, had some plane issues, and just dumped his load over the Chattahoochee National Forest, and then jumped out of the plane. Well, his chute didn't open because he was probably high on cocaine. In the movie, he smacks his head on when he jumps out of the plane, so he's like knocked out and doesn't pull his chute. So yeah, they find this guy, and he landed in somebody's front yard with cocaine on him, and then.
See, I thought the original there were two people.
I don't know, I think it was just the one, but then hunters later found this dead bear like a few weeks later that once they kind of cut it open and autopsied this bear, found it had eaten like $14 million worth of cocaine. And they're like, this whole movie's like, if that bear had survived, like when he ate all that cocaine, it became an apex predator for about 30 seconds before it died. This is what would have happened if it didn't die.
But we got a lot more than 30 seconds. But at the same time, I like how the movie did it, because it didn't just show him like gorging himself on, kilos. I mean, he kind of was. I mean, he was legit eating bricks of coke at a time, but
at one point he just snorts a line off a dude's leg.
He was definitely pacing, himself.
And the CGI is like not bad. It was like this bear looked.
I mean, that's
fairly real.
That's the thing.
I don't know how much they used like a real bear for, and how much was like CGI, but it didn't look fake for the most part. I mean, that might have been a couple scenes where it's like, all right, that's fucked up, but yeah.
But at the same time, I didn't care enough to try to pick it apart
because it was just a fun freaking movie. And if you want to see the real Cocainebear, because Google the actual Cocainebear, because its backstory is pretty interesting, where they taxidermied the bear and it ended up on display at like some museum visitor center at the park, and then eventually got put into storage where it was lost and end up I think Waylon Jennings owned it for a while, and now the bear is on display in a mall in Kentucky. So if you're in the Kentucky area, you can go see the actual Cocainebear that they've named Pablo Escobar. So next time we need to go back up to Ohio to Steampunk Symposium, we can stop off on the way and visit Cocainebear.
But at the same time, like, you know, like I was talking to some people from work that, you know, don't really know that area of the country all that well. And I'm like, man, you got to think, like, how remote some of these places are and everything else. I mean, you know, that's the Heart of Moonshine Company, you know.
Yeah, even like I said, yeah, but that southern Tennessee, northern Georgia area, yeah, that Chattahoochee National Forest is freaking huge. I mean, hell, just here locally, we got Dawson Forest, and there was like a rumor about a plane going down recently. So they were like having to fly drones and stuff to try to find this crash site. And my wife's like, how hard is it to find a plane in the woods? I'm like, Dawson Forest is like 10,000 acres. And like, there's a reason why they had to get drones and everything else to see if they could find this thing. I'm like, and freaking Chattahoochee National Forest is way bigger than our, 10,000 acre Dawson Forest. So shit could definitely get lost up there.
I definitely understand. But yeah, I was like, you know, now in the age of, you know, GPS trackers and stuff, you know, you just tag your drop point, and
yeah, this was
unless
the 80s.
You just get really, really, really unlucky, like chances are, you know, nobody's going to be none the wiser.
Yeah, hell, if they do their drop and have like a freaking cheap GPS locator on the crates, you know, and just like, all right, just pull up my phone app and find my cocaine. But yeah, in the 80s, didn't have that technology. And I got to shout out to whoever edits the Wikipedia, because this line I just read cracked me up. Under the plot, there is a environmentalist that's there inspecting the park named Peter, apparently. And Peter gets eaten by the bear. But the way it's described is the bear attracted to a cocaine-coated Peter. And props to whoever wrote that line, because that's pretty fucking funny.
Yeah, I don't know. Just some of the overtop, you know, nature of this bear. Just like and actually, like, even if you remove the bear sort of out of the, like, the story itself progresses. Like, that was one of the things that kind of shocked me, is like there was an actual storyline, and you actually almost gave a shit about people.
Yeah. So you've got, well, it starts
and even
with,
features a plot twist.
Yeah. Because basis starts off with a mom and her child, who kid is a wannabe artist and wants to go paint a waterfall in the park. So her and her buddy skip school and runs away to the park to paint the waterfalls, and finds a cocaine.
And like TLC said, don't go chasing waterfalls and you won't encounter a cocaine bear.
And they're like the first ones to find cocaine. And he's like, the one kid's trying to be all cool. He's like, oh, that's definitely cocaine. She's like,
I do it all the time.
Yeah, I do it with my friends. So trying to impress the girl. He's like, all right, well, I'll do some cocaine. How you do it? And he's like, I think you just eat it. So she just takes like a freaking knife full and like eats it. And he's like, oh, this tastes like shit. And he's like, rookie? She's like, well, then you take some. And they're like, just eat the cocaine. How do you get high like this? This tastes like shit.
I don't think the other way is much better. Unless you got a stripper ass. That's the only way.
You got to boof it.
Whoa.
That's when someone like takes a straw and blows cocaine up your butthole.
What happens if you blow a little bit back through the straw at them?
The brown cocaine.
Is that a reverse boof? We now call that the oof.
Fart, there's just a cloud. Oh, God.
Oh, what stinks? Damn, now I feel funny. And I got pink eye.
Damn.
Hey, at least you don't have to worry about E. coli that way, I don't think. I don't know.
And unfortunately, or fortunately, because like I said, it was, at first I was like, it's Ray Liotta's last movie, and as great an actor as Ray Liotta is, I'm like, man, his final film is Cocainebear. How sad is that? And then I watched Cocainebear. I'm like, this is fucking awesome. Ray Liotta should have been proud of his final performance. He plays Sid, kind of the.
I mean, that's the thing. Is like, I kind of feel like everybody is legit acting in this, like trying to make it a good movie. Like, it isn't just one of those low budget, like.
Yeah, directed by Elizabeth Banks. I mean, you've got Kerry Russell playing the mom. You've got O'Shea Jackson, Ice Cube's son, who's been in a bunch of stuff recently, playing the two. Was it David and I can't remember the guy's name, but the two gangsters that Sid sends down to Georgia to try to recover his cocaine before the Colombians get pissed off they lost a plane load of cocaine. Yeah, as David, it's like David but with an extra E and no I, and his partner Eddie, who is Sid's son, who just super depressed because his wife just passed away, so he's like, all depressed. He's like, come on, man, we gotta go find some cocaine, we'll cheer you up. Then we run into Cocainebear. And the dirt bag kids that are like the local gang that's hanging out in the woods, harassing tourists, and tries to beat up David in the park bathroom, and he kicks the shit out of him.
Yeah. That was messed up.
Oh, and then you also meet the park ranger, Ranger Liz, played by Margot Martindale. She's funny as shit too. I mean, it's it starts off where she's like cleaning up the office, putting on makeup and shit, because she's like, I'm going to try to hook up with this animal expert that's coming to do an inspection of the park's animal life. And I love it. Like, dude comes in and she's got like a stuffed beaver on the shelf, and he's like, you got a little dust on your beaver, Ranger. And she's like, well, I'm working on that.
Yeah, I mean, there were just some great one-liners to take away from this.
Yeah, but the two kids, before we even get the reveal of the bear just being dumbasses in the woods. Yeah.
I mean, dude, that was us back in when we were kids, right? Like, I mean, fuck, you were told to... I mean, we've said it time and time again. You go outside, you play, you come back when it's dark.
Yeah, no cell phones, none of that shit. Like, yeah, we could have definitely, like, skipped school and gone and wandered the woods in the 80s. Like, well, I was, like, 6 in 1985, so that would probably been a bad idea. But teenagers in the 80s, you could go do shit without parental supervision.
I mean, at the same time, though, I mean, the school might call, and they're going to leave a fucking, message on your parents' answering machine.
Yeah,
so,
they're not going to get that shit on their cell phone.
Like, you just had to make sure you beat,
Yeah, they're not going to know you're missing until you get home. You just got to make sure you get home before they get off work, and just delete that shit. Kids today, that goes straight to your mom's cell phone at work, and you're busted before before you even get to where you're going. I mean, I used to walk like 3 miles to a Walmart just to play Mortal Kombat because they still had an arcade at Walmart. Nobody gave a shit. Like, get home when the lights go up. Fuck, I think I hitchhiked a ride home one night because I didn't want to walk back. Ah, the good old days. I'm surprised we lived this long.
I mean, I think it all depends on, the areas that you grew up in and everything. I mean,
yeah, I wouldn't recommend that in like Chicago or something or downtown Atlanta.
Why not? Do it all the time. Love it.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, we literally have rideshare apps where it's like, call up a complete stranger.
Yeah, it used to be like, don't talk to strangers, don't take rides from strangers. Now it's like, use your phone to summon a stranger to take a ride with.
It's fine. Everything will be fine.
Oh, and then you got the detective who's coming to town to try to. He's like, I'm sure that cocaine probably landed in Georgia, or yeah, he gets a tip that because somebody overhears the guy's talking about recovering it, so he comes down to Georgia to try to find them in the process of picking up their cocaine so he can finally bust Sid.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, when you're brewing moonshine and whatnot, like, that sweet corn smell drifts for quite a ways depending on which direction the wind's blowing and everything. Like, with cocaine, as long as your bags don't bust, like, you just gotta keep the wildlife away.
Yeah. Oh.
Cokie. Only you can prevent cocaine bears.
Yeah, so when Mom and goes to the park to find her kids and teams up with the ranger and Peter, the animal expert. And
Mom's a complete cock block, by the way.
yeah, ranger trying to get some, and she's like, no. And yeah, the pink 80s tracksuit too, like, yeah, props on wardrobe for this movie.
I mean, anytime you were... Well, I mean, I practically wore, I can remember tracksuits, practically wearing those all throughout elementary school.
Oh, remember, was it Body Glove that had the thermal reacting shirt so it changed color depending on, like, heat?
I don't know if I remember that or not.
Oh, yeah, I just remember, like, because, like, those Body Gloves always had, like, that big handprint on their shirts, and we just used to run up to people and go, Body Glove, and, like, slap them on their freaking, the handprint on their shirt.
Damn, y'all were assholes.
We were bored.
Somebody slapped me in the face, I'd, or on the chest, I'd hit him in the face. Like, be like...
Are you really vaping when you got a cigar there? That
I'm doing both simultaneously. Realistically, I'm really thirsty, so I'm tricking my brain into being like, this is moisture. You love it. Like, that was supposed to be my plan before we actually showed up here, was I was going to go and get some form of hydration. Needless to say, I did not.
No, could have got you a glass of water or something before we started.
It's way too much effort. Joe, you're lucky we even got set up today, okay?
True enough. We're actually recording on time. Oh. But, yeah, when they first encounter the bear, like, the one kid is, like, up a tree. And, like, what are you doing? There's a bear. It's on cocaine. Like, what? There's a bear. It got in some cocaine and went bad. It chased, what's her name? Dee Dee off into the woods. And, like, the, fucking ranger is like, well, why are you up a tree? Bears can't climb trees. They're like, yes, they can. What? And then the bear, like, actually shows up and fucking animal expert runs up the tree. And he's like, if bears can't climb trees, why are you up into the tree? And he's like, oh, fuck. And, like, the bear starts climbing up after the kid, but then the ranger guy, or not the animal expert guy, like, when he fell into, like, a pile of, like, cocaine that had been ripped up by the bear. So he's just, like, looks like a fucking powdered donut up this tree. And the bear gets, like, halfway up the tree to the kid and then, like, catches a whiff. And he's like, ooh, more cocaine.
Candy!
And goes, eats his ass. And that's when it's, like, the first time you're like, oh, shit, they're going hard on the horror, because he's, like, ripping this dude apart in the tree and, like, body parts and blood is just pouring out of the tree. You're like, oh, shit, this is way harder than I expected they were going to go. And then he gets down and, like, there's still cocaine on the dude's body, and he just, like, rips a rail off this guy's calf. I'm like, oh, that's fucking funny as shit.
Yeah. You got a defective ashtray. No wonder this thing's an antique. I don't think it was designed for,
Here, do you need another ashtray?
No, I'm good.
Oh. Fucking, the ranger. Man, you got a fucking sideways light on that thing, man. You need to touch that up.
Hey, I'm working on a canoe so I can get away from the Cocainebear.
Oh, but when the ranger runs back to the station, I'm gonna go get some help. Call an ambulance. Gets back to the station, and the fucking kids have, like, broken in there, and they're all beat up. So she's like, did it get you too? And they're talking about the guy that kicked the shit out of them in the bathroom. They're like, yeah, that fucker beat the hell out of us. So she's like, thinks they're talking about the bear, and they think she's talking about the guy. It's freaking, hears something scratching at the door, and she pulls out her gun. He's like, all right, when I say open the door, open the door. Fucking he opens the door, and she ends up accidentally blowing his head off right into the bear's face. The bear's just like covered in blood, like, the fuck? Oh, well, fuck it, and just attacks.
It's like Jaws. If Jaws was a bear.
But when the emergency crew shows up, and then there's like fucking body parts everywhere. The damn ranger's like all fucked up, but she's been bit in the shoulder, and she can. That where like the one lady's trying to like take her pulse with the, and she's trying to like say, it's like bear. And finally she just like grabs the stethoscope and is like, bear.
Too late.
And that's when it like busts out of the closet and starts trying to eat the EMS guys. And that fucking chase scene with them in the ambulance, dude, and Bear just like,
that was so
need to go faster,
over the top, like reminded me so much of Twister. Like, we need to go faster, much faster. Like,
Bear's got its second dose of cocaine. Is like just freaking speed runs that shit. And that death scene too is like probably one of the most brutal, when it gets into the ambulance and knocks the ranger out, but the ranger's like strapped down to a gurney. So when she flies out the back door, she lands like face down and just like skids to a halt on the pavement. And you're like, oh fuck.
Yeah, just the road rash. I'm like,
oh, I was like, that was one where I was like, we're all like laughing, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, that's fucked up. And of course, like the ambulance crew hits a tree and dies.
Well, I mean, you know, it's apparent nobody watched Zombieland, you know, because rule number 1 was cardio, and I think it was either number 2 or number 3 was seat belts.
Yeah, definitely wear your seat belts in a bear attack or a zombie apocalypse. Oh. And then you get, you know, they take one of the two gangsters take one of the kids, because he's like, show me where you found this cocaine. And he's like, we stashed it in a gazebo. And they're like, what the fuck's a gazebo? It's like a picnic area. But when they finally find it, and the cop had got there first, and he's like on the roof and like got the drop on him. And he's like, all right, y'all, you put your hands up. I'm going to come down. And he's like, oh, fuck, how the fuck do I climb down from this thing?
I mean, at the same time, like, if you got up, you can get down. Like, but just that whole
it's a matter of getting down while someone's like got a gun on you. It's like, well, if I put my gun away to climb down, they're gonna pull their guns back out and shoot me. So we're kind of in a stalemate here.
Jump, tuck, and roll. You know.
Yeah, you got to pull some of that John Wick shit. Just roll when you hit the ground. Come up shooting. That's how I would do it.
That's gonna be us in the summertime. I see us on the roof of the shed, like, all right, tack, rack, and roll.
But of course the bear comes up, and by this time it's coming off the cocaine and just passes out on top of Eddie.
And I mean, at least we learn, you know, the bear's gender.
Yes, because like the David's like, all right, can we call a truce? I won't shoot you, you don't shoot me, and let me check and see if my friend's still alive. And they go over there like poking the bear, and he's like, are you okay? Yeah. He's like, well, can one of y'all get him off it? He's like, it's a her. Well, how do you know it's a her? Because her fucking vagina is laying on my ear.
But I don't feel like that was the case at all. I don't know.
Yeah, because his head would have been around the chest area. So that whole statement does not make anatomically sense.
It's like, I got a nipple in my eye. That I could understand.
Yeah. Oh, but of course, you know, they open up some cocaine and it wakes the bear back up. And the cop's like, here, let's distract it. We'll throw it a kilo. And he's like, wait a minute. Let's see what this does to the bear. Fucking just eats that whole bag and just like fucking.
Yeah, now's not the time to be, you know, trying to do a scientific experiment. Like, dude, you're supposed to be a detective, like, not a scientist. I would, you know, stick to doing detective-esque things.
And then the twist, his partner shows up and she's on the take, one of Sid's crew. And that's the one I didn't expect too, because they're all still kind of negotiating their way. They get the bear to run off chasing the cocaine, and then all of a sudden, homeboy gets shot out of nowhere because Sid decided his boys were too stupid to find the cocaine, and he come down himself with a freaking hunting rifle and just fucking kills the cop on the roof. We're like, oh shit, that didn't expect that one. This is like turning into a gangster movie. For being bad guys, the other two guys weren't that bad.
The underlings, no. Like
they showed genuine concern for people, and he was really trying to help out his buddy get through his
they're legitimately like just in it for the money, like the other guy on the other hand, he doesn't care. Women, kids, whatever,
And you get the side plot of somebody take care of my dog because I ordered a dog off and it turned out to be a little foo-foo dog, and now I'm kind of liking the dog. So somebody take care of my dog if I die.
What was that dog's name? Like Princess or
Fifi? Fifi, I think Fifi was
foo-foo. Fifi was very foo-foo. I don't know,
Oh yeah, by the way, it's the Kentucky Fun Mall in Lexington, Kentucky is where the
a place like Fun Mall we have to go.
So yeah, mom trying to recover her daughter is finding her leaving a trail of art supplies through the woods. And I like the kid too, is like the boy's like, hey, Miss whatever, like what kind of effects will cocaine have if you only did a little? He's like, oh, like it could like really mess you up, man. He's like I'm a nurse, and he starts telling him like cocaine horror stories just to try to scare him straight. What if I only did a little cocaine? Will that have long-term effects?
Yes, it will.
It'll
like I always, just had flashbacks to, that commercial. This is your brain on drugs.
This is your bear. This is your bear on drugs. Oh. So, of all the places to hide, the child hides in a cave in the woods. Bears live in caves. It's probably not the smartest location to hide from a bear.
Do you think she was hiding in the cave, or do you think that kind of instinctually, maybe bear mistaken it for a cub because she was there with said cubs, and obviously didn't try to, attack her in the den or anything for being around the cubs?
Or maybe the bear was just off chasing other people at the time, looking for more cocaine and hadn't gone home yet. But I like it. They find her and they hear a noise because of course this is the bear's cave, and go on back in the cave, and there's like two little cubs like in one of the duffel bags full of cocaine, just come out all like freaking powdered up, look like polar bears.
Too bad Coke did it first.
That was one of the memes I saw. It was the Coca-Cola polar bear, and it looked all depressed. It's like when you found out the other Coke bear got a movie before you did. Oh, but she's like, nah, they're okay. They're not gonna hurt us. They just like the cocaine. But of course, Cocainebear comes home, and they finally make it to the waterfall. They find the back door to the cave, and it's on a cliff under the waterfall. But unfortunately, the gangsters find their way there too.
This is where kind of we get our other plot twist. Like this whole time, you're like, damn, I kind of want the kids to win. And homeboy with his hunting rifle, gets the drop on one of the cubs. And you're like, oh shit, they're not about to kill a cub.
Oh yeah, he's like, kicks the shit out of the cubs, and Mama Bear shows up, and he ends up butt stroking her, and she falls off the cliff and lands farther down the cliff. And that's when the two David and Eddie kind of have a change. At first the corrupt cops this is too much. We've killed somebody. We're chasing.
It's like DMX said, you don't involve women and kids.
And she's like, I'm done with this, and tries to walk away, and he pulls the gun on her, and the other two guys like step in front of him like, nah dude, we're not doing this. And he's like, y'all are getting fucking soft. Like, come on, let's get the damn cocaine. And they're like, no, we're out of here too. And like, you don't understand, like, I owe the Colombians a shitload of money because of this, so if we don't recover the cocaine, they're gonna come after me and my family, which includes you and your son, so you have to do this. And then when they find out, there's like mom and kids up there, and they're like, no, we're like legit done. Like, we're not killing kids over fucking Colombian. We'll deal with the Colombians and shit. I'm not fucking with a bear or kids or cubs. Like, nah, we're done. And he tries to shoot the cubs and the bear and ends up hitting him in the neck, and they all kind of just jump off the waterfall. And then fucking Ray Liotta, he gets it hard. Because, of course, as he's trying to climb up to get like a bag of cocaine that's hanging off the cliff, one of the bundles falls out and busts open, and the cocaine just like falls down on the bear, and it's like, second wind. Wakes her back up.
It's Christmas time.
It's snowing. Oh yeah, and she fucking comes up and them just gut rips him, and then like the cubs start like pulling his intestines out and shit, and it's like, yeah, he got the death he deserved at that point. You're just like, yeah, eat that motherfucker.
The only thing I thought that was missed was that would have been a great, Lady and the Tramp moment with, a piece of intestine.
them fighting over a piece of intestine, like fucking playing tug of war. Oh. And of course he accidentally shoots his son in the neck when he's like trying to shoot the bear. But luckily, mom's a nurse and saves the gangsters. Put a thumb in it, or like Kentucky Ballistics.
I don't think it's gonna be pleasant, but at least that way you're not, just choking on blood nonstop.
But yeah, homeboy had a fucking O'Shea Jackson, David. He's all like fancy dressed for being, he's like, I got the sweet Jordans or whatever, and my gold chain, and like, man, I got blood all over my shit now, man. I done stepped in bear shit.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was, one of the highlights, like, the kids in the bathroom shit. And he's like, "It's my favorite jersey." Like, but I can remember, like, I'd bring, my friends up from Midtown or whatever, and we'd go out into the woods, and they're
not dressed for the occasion.
Exactly. I'm like, the fuck did you expect to get in? And then I'm like, you would have had no clue, because you live in a concrete jungle. Our jungle actually has trees.
Yeah, I think they were supposed to be from like Missouri or something. They were like, big city drug dealers. Speaking of fucking random jump scares, like when he goes to meet with Sid and Eddie's like left his kid with like Grandpa Gangster, the kid's hiding in the ball pit. When he's walking, he just jumps out of the ball pit and slaps the glass and scares the shit out of him. I was like, all right, didn't expect a jump scare in a fucking kids arcade.
But that's kind of awesome though. Like, it's when you least expect it. Like, that's what made this film great was, it's not like, oh shit, the bear's on the prowl, blah, blah, blah. And that's, no. Like, you're going to feel safe, you're going to feel comfortable because you're at a fucking kiddie arcade, and it's like, I'm going to catch you off guard, motherfucker.
Or when they're at the ranger cabin, and the EMS guy like just opens the door to like the storage closet, and the friggin' light just hits the bear, and its face is like covered in like blood and bits from that dude who got his head blown off, and it's like, oh fuck, bear. And he gets squished under the door for a minute.
That scene was just absolutely ridiculous, though. Just the... All right, so a bear on cocaine, has the average speed of a fucking cheetah.
Yeah, it can outrun a Ford van and climb inside.
I mean, I guess that's somebody's fault, though, because, if you got an ambulance, close the door. I mean, I think that would kind of be like...
Yeah, because Homeboy had to jump in on the run because they were straight leaving his ass. But yeah, he probably should have shut the door at that point. The fucking Rangers. I thought the Rangers were going to accidentally shoot him again because she's like trying to shoot the bear as it's chasing him. And that lady needs a little more practice because, yeah, she couldn't shoot shit.
All right, they didn't have all those fancy optics and, things, okay? Ammo and, weapons weren't designed the way they are today.
That's what happens when you defund the police. There's no money for training.
I mean, technically, as a park ranger, I don't even think you're law enforcement at that point.
It depends, because some park rangers are DNR. They are actually...
Yeah, they have arresting power.
They have... But then there's park rangers that are just basically like, guides and security people. They don't have...
Hey, I just patrol and, make sure you got on your life preserver and, Like, I remember, like, when I was a kid, like, they all had, like... essentially baseball cards with their name and, ID and stuff. And, like, if you ran into 10 different ones, like, they gave you, like, a fucking token for a Dairy Queen ice cream or something. Like, you would have to answer some kind of, safety or wildlife question. Like, how do you prevent a forest fire?
Fucking, that's the new Smokey the Bear, but he's on cocaine. You kids started a fire, I'm gonna fucking eat you.
Whoa. Cokie. Only you can prevent forest fires.
Oh. And you get the one kid that they had used to, the teenager. You see, like, post-credits, you see him, like, walking out of the wood, like hitchhike, because he was like, he actually starts talking to him, and he's like, yeah, man, my dream is to move to New York and make it big. And you see him like hitchhiking to New York at the end, and he managed to get one of the bags of cocaine, and some farmer picks him up with like sheep or pigs or whatever in the back. And he puts his bag in the back and gets in the truck, and he's like, no, wait a minute, gets out and gets the bag back, because he's like, I don't want to see what happens when sheep get on cocaine.
I mean, those are very valuable life lessons. Like,
and he has like a cowboy hat too.
Cocaine
so I'm like,
sheep.
I'm like, I wonder if this, like, my head canon is this guy like moved to New York and became the naked cowboy in Times Square, like the guy who just like plays guitar in his underwear, because that guy probably does a lot of cocaine.
I mean, what you got to talk about me that way for? I mean, it's my house. I do what I want, okay? Who are you to judge?
Have you never seen that guy? He's like one of the famous like attractions in New York. He's the naked cowboy. He's like just a cowboy with nothing but whitey tighties and a guitar.
I'm pretty sure like he was doing all kinds of stage tours and everything else at one point. Like,
that's my headcanon, is that kid grew up to be the naked cowboy. Because that dude definitely looks like he's on cocaine. I'm Dr. Roxo, the rock and roll clown, and I do cocaine. That should have been a guest appearance.
I mean, so let's talk about the soundtrack to this film. Because it had a pretty good soundtrack, but I kind of felt like there were, a few songs of choice that came to mind that I'm like, I mean, I don't know what the royalties would have cost or, whatever. So that might be the deciding factor. But
yeah, I'm real surprised that we didn't hear Eric Clapton's Cocaine at some point in this movie.
That or, Coked Up Personality or...
I mean, yeah, it did have a good, like, 80s rock soundtrack. Because if anybody knows about doing cocaine, it's 80s rock stars.
I mean, that is the thing. Like, your music oftentimes is so influenced. I mean, look at the 60s and 70s, that time it was, mainly weed, that sort of thing, or, acid, So you got a lot of, mellow, trippy, shit. The 80s, it was all about the coke and the speed and, everything was upbeat and blah, blah, blah. Fast forward to 2020 and, fucking people can't even speak because they're so zonked out. So all they can do is mumble.
Yes, I saw an interview with Ice-T, and someone asked him about like modern rap, and he's like, well, rap is influenced by the drugs you're doing while you're, like I said, so back in the 80s and stuff, we were all like coked up and shit, so it was a lot more like upbeat music. And then, like you said, kind of the pot phase came in, and it was more that, you know, Snoop Dogg style rap. He said, but now all the kids are on scissor and heroin or whatever, so now it's like mumble rap. So it's like, the popular drugs of the day kind of influence is how the music is written.
Yeah, man. So we're just gonna get on the mic and just do the rap, like, okay.
Yeah, my phone was dead yesterday, and I was like, my charger wasn't working in the car, so I had to listen to like actual radio. And I came across one of like the modern rap stations, and I'm like, oh, this stuff sucks now. Bring the 90s back, son.
That just means you're old.
Yeah. I mean, there are studies, and hell, I think
Bring back this thing that's 30 years old. God.
I mean, yeah, it is a fact that you stop listening to new music at a certain age. And I think that's one of the, I can't remember if it was one of the science articles I chose or one that I was when I was looking at stuff. But yeah, there's like kind of scientific evidence about it. But as far as like new music, it's like if I listen to new stuff, it's kind of old styles. Like as far as like new music, it's all still metal. You know, it's like I don't listen to like say like fucking Miley Cyrus or whatever, like the popular shit kids are listening to. If I'm going to listen to new something, it's going to be of a genre that I liked as a kid, as metal or nerdcore rap, you know. But it's like I rarely listen to anything that's like whatever's the new popular music of today.
You're such a rebel.
I mean, all the artists I'll follow are like fucking YouTube metal bands and shit. It's like I haven't listened to anyone who's like, you know, actual stadium rockers or musicians these days. People I listen to are still dirtbags that play at the Masquerade and shit.
Steel Panther's coming to concert soon.
Okay, that I need to look up tickets for when I get paid again, because
They're expensive.
I've been wanting to see Steel Panther.
Steel Panther is not going to be cheap, but
Sad I missed out the fucking Ice Nine Kills tour. I completely forgot that was going on, and until you're like, hey man, I'm going to Ice Nine Kills tonight. I'm like, fuck, I was going to get tickets to that, and I completely forgot about it.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know, that brought back like I you know, I kind of miss where going to concerts was a theatrical experience.
Yeah, where they put on like a hell of a stage show too.
And, you know, like the last couple of concerts that I've been to, like that's specifically been one of my draws. Like, I just think it's awesome. Like, you know, the set changes, the costume changes all within like this 30-second period. And it's like, oh shit, that's badass.
Yeah, like seeing Alice Cooper back in the day or something like that, where it was like, I mean, it was a fucking stage show. It wasn't just a concert, you know. And yeah, but you kind of got to get one of those big theater performances to get that stage show these days.
I mean,
or like I said, all the bands I listen to are still.
I mean, even like Ice Nine Kills, you know, they weren't even like their tour was kind of weird because they rotated, you know, every night who, you know, was going to be the closing act. So, you know, you didn't know from one night to the next, you know, who was going to have the longest set, you know, and they, you know, did the middle set. But it was kind of cool, you know, just seeing Spencer, like, you know, 1 minute, you know, he's got the fucking chainsaw hand dressed up as Ash, you know, the next second, you know, you got fucking Pennywise and shit out on stage, or he's dressed up as, you know, the head guy from Psycho and shit, like.
Yeah, I appreciate a band that still puts on not just a musical show, but like a show.
A shoe show?
In the She Shed? What?
Whoa. Shoe show in the She Shed. All right. On to something.
So if we get a sequel, what do you think we get next? Do we get more Cocainebears? Because the bear and its cubs survive. So we get like one of those movies where it's like, all right, now we have 3 Cocainebears. Or do we get a different animal? Do we get like cocaine squirrels?
Well, I mean, you know, you've already
sharks.
alluded to it, you know, that Mess Squirrel was in the works. And you know, Mess Squirrel, the origin of that is basically a guy was feeding his squirrels
meth to try to attack squirrels to defend his house.
I don't think it would ever work, but I mean,
there was an interview with Elizabeth Banks, the director, and someone asked her about a sequel, and she kind of jokingly said, "It's like, well, if we do another sequel, I did read a story about a shark that once ate a bunch of cocaine, so maybe we get Cocaine Sharknado or whatever."
I mean, that was kind of my thing. Like,
that
could we get Elizabeth, Banks, and the producers of Sharknado, like, to do a spinoff where we get, cocaine sharks or something?
Because it's plausible, because now the big smuggling thing is people are smuggling with these like narco subs, trying to like sneak into the country with like these homemade subs. So cocaine sub goes down and fucking shark eats the cocaine, and then we get like coked out Jaws.
I mean,
it's been a while since we had a good shark movie. We had that. What was that movie with the alligators in Florida eating people?
Oh God,
it was like Crawl or something. Or
I remember wanting to.
I ended up watching it at the cigar shop one night, and yeah, it's like fucking sharks in a hurricane. Like, or not sharks, gators in a hurricane. Town gets flooded, and people are getting eaten by these big ass sharks. Fucking alligators.
I don't know. For some reason, I keep wanting to say Lake Placid, and I know that's not it.
Yeah, there we go. We get meth gators in Florida. Gators eat a bunch of meth.
I could absolutely see that working. If there's not a bigger stereotype than Florida Man, like...
They should make a Florida Man horror movie. Or Florida Man's the hero.
Because he's the only one batshit enough that,
He's like, the only way to fight a meth gator is to do more meth. He just gets methed up and punches a gator.
It's going to result in a lot of broken light bulbs, I'm afraid.
But of course, David and Eddie take the detective's dog and give it to his kid. So the dog lives, the bears live. Just Ray Liotta got eaten.
Yeah, that was kind of the weird, like, because for so long you're like, oh, you're rooting for the kids, then the bad guys make an appearance, and it's like, oh, now I'm rooting for the bear, and
yeah,
like there was actually more depth. I'm like,
now you find out Bear's a mom and got kids of her own. She's not just a cocaine bear. She's raising her little cocaine cubs. Oh, and you get the first kill we get is the weird German tourists like hiking through the woods. They're like, look, there's a bear. We have such luck in nature. Let's get photographies. And then bear eats homegirl. And they when they're looking for the kid, they find Klaus or whatever his name was, who's like the weird guy from Game of Thrones. He's like, bear ate my wife. And he shows him where the cave is, and he's like, fuck you all, I'm not going in cave. And then he gets eaten outside the cave. But
well, at least him and his wife get to be together in the digestive tract of the bear.
Yeah, and like the credits of the movie, there's like, the little text is like, the cocaine was never found, and you see like the three bears just kind of playing, and like some other tourists like filming it. Oh, look, bears, they're so sweet. And then they all kind of look at him like, why are they looking at us that way? Or like, uh-oh. Cocaine Bear 2, Cocaine Bears.
Kind of feel like it needs to be Cocaine Bear 3 since there's 3 cubs. Are the 2 cubs and the mama?
That would be... there's plenty of like weird horror movies that just skip a number. It's like the first number is like Psycho 3 or some shit. Yeah, it's like... I could totally jump like... Oh, the 3 little bears. That's that's Cocaine Bear 2. It's 3 little bears.
3 little cocaine bears.
This bag of cocaine was too big. This bag of cocaine's too small. This bag of cocaine is just right. Oh.
No bag too big or something. I don't know. At this point, like we've given 50 ideas on, if we were acclaimed movie producers.
Or you got that, speaking of songs that we didn't hear, you got that Ed Sheeran White Line song.
I thought you didn't listen to modern music.
I don't know. I've never heard that song. I've just seen the title. I've watched the video of Miley Cyrus, like, dressed up as Beetlejuice, like dry humping the dude on the stage. That's all I know about that song.
That's a whole different White Line.
And as the family's leaving the park, he's like, I promise, like, we'll go on that trip to Nashville or whatever, and when we get back, we'll come paint the waterfall. He's like, yeah, as soon as we get out of rehab. Like, what? Why y'all got to rehab? Because we're about that life now, Mom. We're all coked up. And like they're walking by the ambulance and the ranger's body in the street. She's like, don't go near that. I kind of want to go near that now. Damn it, Timmy! Don't look at the dead body. Oh, this is the type of thing I think it's going to haunt a man for the rest of his life.
Yeah. Oh God, that reminds me of our tubing adventure when the kid hit his nuts on a rock.
Oh, my balls.
That occurred in the Appalachia. Wait, we've seen things.
That'll haunt a man for the rest of his days. So, what do you think of this here cigar?
This isn't my favorite.
Really?
Like, I don't know what it is. I smoked a lot of the Banker. And then I think they reinvented the Banker because I had one relatively recently. That or my palate's just changing. But, this to me smokes a lot more like a Brazilian cigar than it does a Nicaraguan cigar.
Well, it does have a Brazilian wrapper.
But normally...
And that's where you get most of your flavor from is the wrapper.
See, I don't get that oftentimes. But, I mean, it... I don't know.
Do you like the other AJ better?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, this one's good, but there's
like,
not a lot of transition to it. It's kind of like one note throughout.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what, like, the other AJ, like, first third, second third, final third, like, it evolved. It had, more complexity, where this, it's been the same smoke, throughout, and it just hasn't quite held my attention. And
it's kind of had that bitter espresso flavor throughout, where I kind of would have liked a little more of that.
See, for me, I would like more spice and less, espresso.
Yeah, because I'm not.
And I think maybe that triple, fermentation, that gives it that espresso characteristic. Because I'm not a big coffee guy, so it just, I got no other complaints. It's a well-constructed cigar, as long as you light it properly and do what you're supposed to. I got a really good, burn off of it. It just, I would have liked more transition and a bit more complexity from my palate.
Yeah, but if you are an espresso person and like that flavor profile, then yeah, this is definitely a cigar I could recommend for that if that's the flavor profile you look for in a cigar.
I'm not knocking. It's just not the cigar for me is all. Everybody's got their own taste, palates, everything else. Like, this would be one, like, oh, you're big into espresso? Great, try this. For me, I'm not that guy. Like, and I never look at a cigar, before we do one of these reviews. Like, I always come into it, like, the first time I'm lighting it up. Now, sometimes, like, if it's something I've really wanted to try, I'll smoke beforehand and have a little bit of idea, coming into the show.
It's not a recording week and it's something new and it's like, all right, I want to try that. And it's like, oh, yeah, this one's a good one. We need to do this one. But most of the time it's like we try to pick ones that we've not tried yet. So we get a kind of a blind taste test. And like I said, we liked the other AJ.
Yeah, the Room 101.
No, the first version of the H Upman.
Oh yeah,
AJ was good. But yeah, this one just a little bit too much of that. It's kind of like bitter espresso flavoring, but it's not bad. But it's not one that I'm gonna probably go back to. But if you're, like I said, if you're a coffee person, and this one might be, like I said, a good cigar to smoke while you're having some coffee.
You know, I mean, I might, you know, I haven't ate anything today. I haven't, drank anything today. So, who knows, I might have one of these cigars next week.
Get a whole different
and have a whole different, experience with it. But, just this one, left me wanting a little bit more. And, I mean, you called me out. You saw me reach for my vape. Typically, if I'm smoking a cigar, I don't do that. Because the cigars held my attention.
Yeah, I would definitely have liked a little more of that sweet spice that kind of was at the start of it. But yeah, it's not a bad cigar, just not a great cigar for my palate, or our palate. But yeah, give it a try. Yeah, see what you think. Let us know in the comments. And with that, we'll be right back. And you've been watching the Cigar Nerds podcast. Check us out on cigarnerdpodcast.com. We're on the ESO Network at esonetwork.com. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Cigar Nerd Pod. Remember, smoke 'em as you got 'em. Like, comment, and subscribe.